We be live. Hi everyone.
Maybe
Let us.
go.
Oh, say that again. I interrupted that. That's very cute when you do
Hello.
that. I don't know. I don't know why I like that so much. It's the cutest thing in the world. Uh, all right. Hi guys. All right. So we're here to answer questions. This is a Q&A. All right. But we have some Patreon questions. We have like about how many Patreon? We have a couple of Patreon. Oh, and Ridrish already has sent his questions ahead of time at the beginning of the live chat. So
Rudresh is on top of it. He comes in
yeah.
first, gets in at the top. That's he's serious about getting his
Oh, and
questions answered.
he's also telling me to cover up my biceps. Be modest. No.
Well, maybe it's
Uh.
also because wait, Mustafa said, "I will donate $10 USD if Armin isn't wearing a tank top, or just rather wearing any kind of shirt when the show starts." So we already lost $10.
It's worth it. I'm comfortable. I'm comfortable like this. Okay. Why do you want to donate for me to be uncomfortable? Right. I'd rather be okay. All right. But we have some patron questions. Okay. So if patrons, their questions will get answered ahead of time. And then we go to other people, other questions in the live chat. So if you want your questions to get answered first, consider supporting us on Patreon. Link in the description. That means we answer your questions first. That means that we spend more time on answering your questions. And also that means that even if you're not here live with us, you can still send your questions ahead of time and we will answer them. All right. Let's get into the questions.
Really
Oh,
quickly,
hi.
Dean at Atheist Republic Cape Town is saying good morning. Good
Hi,
morning to you,
Dean.
Dean. It's evening over here. But everyone, go subscribe to Atheist Republic Cape Town. Amazing content with a particular focus on African atheists. And now we also have content in Sesotho and Afrikaans. So expanding our language repertoire.
That's amazing. All right. That's great. We should do an update on that later. Anyways, let's get to the questions.
Yes. Um, so first question is from Ego. I'm gonna give Ego the nickname Erica. I don't know why. That's just what comes to mind because I don't know how to say their username for real. So, anyways, if you want me to change your nickname, just let me know. So, Erica is asking, Radio Liberty recently did a documentary on coercive conversions of Hindu Pakistani brides to Islam. Any thoughts on how this activity can be both effectively opposed and the effect of it on the love jihad conspiracy theorists in India um, mitigated? So how can this be opposed and mitigated so that the violence lessens over time? Um, well, I watched the documentary that you were talking about. If anyone's curious, it is called Inside Pakistan's Conversion Factory for Hindu Brides. It's pretty short, it's only like 13 minutes long. Um, and it is wildly depressing. um, so I think it was a very good little miniature documentary. I would really suggest it to people because it brought up a lot of issues surrounding the forced conversions of Hindu girls that I hadn't maybe thought of or considered in Pakistan. So, for example, there were women who say, "Oh no, I wasn't forcibly converted, but I converted to Islam because um, basically there's more social mobility if I was a Muslim." Or there's someone saying, "I converted to Islam because I was promised a job if I became a Muslim," or "I became a Muslim because I wanted to escape an abusive husband," or "I became a Muslim because there was no one within my caste like to marry." Um, so those were all very, very interesting reasons that are more socially influenced than I had previously thought of before. I think the issue of conversion for economic mobility um, is really striking and sad. It obviously is caused by the intense level of discrimination that religious minorities face in Pakistan. The fact that they are really shut off from so many opportunities because of their religion, is something that shouldn't be acceptable. And this documentary also talked about different um, methods that the government is trying to do to combat this issue, and how there are all these clerics that operate that approve these laws. So one of the things that they're trying to do is make the creation of birth certificates better in rural areas, because that would help combat this issue of underage brides if they could actually more definitively define when someone was born. And then also, they actually were advocating for setting up that religious conversions can only be a mandated, not mandated, but registered with the state, and not with these clerics who conduct these religious conversions, which I thought was really interesting, because that's something that has been pushed for in India. And we've talked about that many times on this channel. But when it was presented in this way in Pakistan, I actually saw how this could be something that is um, useful, and maybe would be useful in preventing harm. But at the same time, I immediately go, the government registering religious conversions, that doesn't seem good. That doesn't seem like the role of the government. But in this construction, it is to lessen harm. Um, so I haven't, yeah, I was like just thinking about that. It was interesting to me. What do you think, Armin?
Right. Before I say what I think, can you check which microphone has been selected for
Oh,
you? I
okay.
just
Just a
want to.
sec.
All right. No, just tap on it.
It was the wrong one.
I know. It sounded like it was the wrong one. All right, you sound a lot better now. I didn't. You were making a lot of good points. I didn't want to interrupt that. Um, I do want to mention that this is not love jihad, right? Love jihad is a conspiracy theory that is about. I mean, the examples that you mentioned is not even forced conversion, right? There are still conversions that is unfortunate and sad, right? The fact that you would have to do that to be able to get a job, or to be able to do this, or to be able to do that. I mean, but the examples that people give us are mostly the ones that, I mean, these are important, and they need to be addressed, but the ones that are a bigger issue are the kidnappings, you know what I mean, like the forced kidnappings and
the documentary did go into that too, like actual cases of that as well.
Right. But whether this level of coercion or that level of coercion, none of this is love jihad, right? The incentives behind these are more selfish, and direct, evil, in the way that women are just being taken advantage of, right? That is that brand of evil. It's not the brand of evil that, like, we're on a mission to increase the size of the ummah. You know what I mean? Like, that is what love jihad suggests. Or like change the demographics of, I don't know, like India. I mean, when I say that, a lot of Hindus think like I'm excusing it as not a problem. We agree that this is what they're doing is evil. We're just like disagree on the brand of the evil. Like, it's not like demographic engineering. That is not what's happening. Okay.
Well,
yeah.
These women are specifically targeted because they are non-Muslims.
I know, but the intentions are more selfish. The intentions are not this like, oh, I care about increasing the size of the ummah. The intentions are like, I want you, okay? I want to make you mine, and this is how it's done. Okay, I'm not excusing it. Like, this is not a defense of these behavior. This is taking advantage of vulnerable people and trying to trap them into a system where now they're yours and they can't get rid of you, right? Like, it is still evil. I'm just saying the end goal is not like it's not like, it sounds like the way a lot of Hindus speak about it is the same way that a lot of conspiracy theorists talk about this grand conspiracy of all these people being in together and doing this for the greater, what they perceive to be the greater good of increasing the size of the ummah, or like that, or changing the demographics of a nation or something like that. I don't think that level of coordination is happening. I just think like people are just being selfish and just taking advantage of women for their own personal benefit. Okay, it's still evil.
Yeah. I guess I'm pushing back because when I was watching this, I was like really hit with the sense of how much there was an open disdain, dislike, and uh, diminishing of non-Muslims in it.
Yeah. Yeah, there's an idiot in the live chat that thinks I'm defending this as well. See, even though I mentioned a couple of times that I'm not defending them, I'm just saying that there's a different brand of evil that I'm highlighting, right? I think like for a lot of Hindus who are into this conspiracy theory, they just like other far right leaning conspiracy theorists, right? Then there needs to be this giant force that they're fighting with, this great evil. It can't be individual evil, right? Of bad, examples of people like having, Hindu women, for example, being victims of individual crimes or, stuff. It can't be that. It has to be this great, powerful, demonic entity that is all united and they're like in battling with this great force. You know what I mean? That's what they want to change this to, right? And it's not that. Okay, it's just individual people doing shitty things. But they like to present it like that because they have to be in a fight for good at the side, against this great evil.
It's not necessary. Well, it isn't entirely people doing things individually. There are networks throughout Pakistan that allow this to happen. People who work in networks, from clerics to paying off the police and underground situations, to work a system. So
yes, system for their personal benefits. It's kind of like okay. So for example, let's say grooming gangs, right? The grooming gangs is also a system, okay? But they're not like, oh, let's do this so that we could like make Muslim babies and start an ummah in Europe, right? It's not that, okay? It's more like we just want to take advantage of young women and have them to ourselves. We might use religion as a weapon, but the intentions are selfish. The intentions are not like
mostly non-Muslims.
Yeah, exactly. That's a perfect example. That they're targeting non-Muslims. They're using religion as a weapon, but they're not like, oh, we don't care about. This is not sexual. We're just like we're doing this for Allah. We're like trying to make Europe Muslim. That's not. That's not the conspiracy. Okay, they're just being shitty people. Okay, these are individuals that are using religion as a way to just take advantage of women. Right? There's not this grand conspiracy of like this greater good. I mean, good by, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm just saying. Okay.
No, I just wanted to push back on you because I feel like, just a little bit, because.
No, that's good. Your example was a really good one. Actually, made my point.
Yeah. Ego is asking, the real issue is how does one determine a willing conversion from a coercive one?
It's not black and white. It's not black and white. You have degrees, right? So if you get kidnapped, right, and then forced to get converted to Islam, that's like one level of coercion. If you get like, hey, you might get this job if you convert to Islam, it's more likely. Okay, that's also
that is a form of coercion.
That's also a form of coercion, but maybe not to the same degree. Okay, because I don't know, the consequences of one of them might be a beating. The consequences of the other one might be like you don't get this job, right? So they're both coercion, but it's not like it's a spectrum. Okay, it's not 0 and 100.
Actually, there have been issues in Pakistan where men were accused of blasphemy because they were invited to Islam to get jobs and they refused. So then there were charges brought against them, which is a charge that carries the death penalty. It's so messed up.
Oh, what? Really?
Yeah.
Wait, they refused to do what?
They refused to convert to get a job. They were accused of blasphemy, charged with blasphemy. That's a charge that carries the death penalty.
Amazing. Well, refusing to convert to Islam is not blasphemy, even by Islamic standards. They just added
No,
that.
but like the way that they did it was so insulting or some bullshit.
Mm.
It's crazy. It's
Yeah.
really crazy.
All right. Let's move to the next question.
Next question is also from Erica, as I have now named her. What are your thoughts on Free Heart, Free Minds work bringing secular/non-religious mental health services to LGBT and ex-religious people who are currently trapped in countries where they are persecuted? It's incredible work. It's very needed.
Yes. I mean, we have to be careful because we're not like checking everything. Okay. So if one day something comes out that there's something shady that happened, okay, everything is possible. Okay. But based on the limited information that we have of what's going on, it seems pretty good. Okay. I'm just trying to be careful because sometimes we endorse something and then you look into it and there was something that we didn't see. Okay, so we don't want to 100% endorse everything.
Well, I
But
mean, we've
based
had
on
issues with Yasmin within like the past year, so
no, but that's separate from how good the
yeah.
program could be, right? Just because we have disagreements, the program could be like 100% fantastic. With like it could be the best thing ever, right? I mean, it seems like it's great. Okay, so it seems like it seems like based on all the information that we have, okay, and we haven't done a deep dive into it, okay, but based on all the information that we have, it seems like it's a fantastic program that needs a lot of support, okay. However,
They're members of our Atheist Republic community who've really benefited from the services that they've received there.
Just make sure
within
you
our own
always
community, they'll sing praises.
Yeah, just make sure you always do your own research, and don't trust us just because we're endorsing it. Like I think we're comfortable in endorsing it. Okay, so we do endorse it, but we're not. When we endorse something, we're not guaranteeing 100% that there's not something. We can't guarantee that. Okay, we haven't spent like hours just to make sure like everything is 100% correct. Okay, so just doing an outcomes raiser and just like seems like it's fantastic, seems like it's worth looking into, and seems like it could use your support, but just make sure you do your own research and you don't trust us 100%. Okay, I think that's a responsible way of endorsing something, right?
Yeah, I mean, I've donated to them before. I think they have a really amazing purpose.
Yeah, seems like it's great. And I think like that's very mature of us, right? We are endorsing a program even though we have disagreements with the founder on some issues, right? But we still endorse her work because it's providing a lot of value, right? We don't let disagreements get in the way of that.
Yeah, 100%. So next question is from Alex. I don't know how to pronounce the umlauts. Kappa. Have you heard about Germany's Catholic Church becoming more tolerant of homosexuality or LGBT in general, e.g., blessing of non-cisgender heterosexual relationships, going against the explicit will of the Vatican/Pope? What are your thoughts? And then in parentheses, the needless prolonging of the life of a toxic religion with an awful track record versus the overdue end persecution of some members of the largest Christian denomination. Well, thank you for your question. I think that's an interesting way to contrast the two aspects of what's happening here. Yes, I am familiar with this. There's been a lot of efforts to censor a lot of the bishops and priests in Germany who are undertaking these things because they are directly going against the church's decree. And the Pope reiterated very recently that they can't do this because you cannot bless sin, end quote. But I think I will be happy for the people who do experience less persecution because of this, but I will not celebrate the Catholic Church for doing this. Because so
That's
Muted.
perfect. That's a perfect response. It's a perfect response. I mean, these churches have been forced into this position, right? So we could, because of, not because of religion, but because of secularism and Enlightenment values, and they've been, dragged kicking and screaming out of their horrible bigoted positions, right? So you can't be like, "Yay, Catholic Church!" Right? Don't do that, okay? Don't. Germany's Catholic Church deserves no credit, okay? They're just trying to remain relevant because the world is moving past them, and they don't want to be left behind, right? We could at the same time be happy for the fact that more, LGBT people are going to be accepted. We could be happy for the LGBT community in Germany, okay, while not celebrating the Germany's Catholic Church. Okay, these two are not mutually exclusive. Okay, um, I just also wonder, like, if they're not, if Germany's Catholic Church is, are they protesting against the Vatican? Like, is that like? I mean, are they? Are
because
they?
because you know what we call that, right?
Are they
Uh-oh.
like, I don't understand. Like, you cannot. Are, are you Catholic if you're going against the Vatican, right? If you're protesting against the Vatican, aren't you a Protestant? Like, isn't that what we call that? I mean, it's just like, it's just like, it's all a giant mess.
Stairs in Reformation.
Yeah. I mean, okay, so what happened to infallibility of the Pope, or like, of the Vatican? Like, you guys, it
Or the
just makes no
Catechism of the
sense.
Catholic Church.
Yeah. Your audio is a little bit low. Can you increase your audio? Maybe I could just. Um. Yeah. So there's that. What do you? Yeah. So guys, don't give credit. Like, don't. It's good to keep pressuring these religious institutions to, like, um give up on their bigotry, okay? But every time they do that, just make sure that you don't, it's like, this is like a dragon that is injured, okay? You when it's like, when it when it's dying, you don't just let it go, okay? You keep pushing the sword into the dragon's heart, okay? You don't just like, oh, it's injured, so it's good now. You move away. You fight against religion, right? You were like, oh, religion is reforming. It's like less harmless now, okay? That doesn't matter. You keep fighting until it's dead, okay? As long as there's religion, you stand against religion. These so-called reforms are not because their religion is inherently becoming better, okay? They're just backtrack. They're just being cornered. They're just being cornered, and they're forced to do this because they don't want to die out completely. But no matter how much they give in to modernity, that doesn't mean that you stop pressing on their neck, okay? You press harder, okay? Because they're showing you their weakness, and you go for the kill. You don't stop fighting against religion. As long as it's there, it's causing harm. By the way, this is about YouTube. When I'm talking about swords and kill and stuff, I'm talking about ideology. I'm talking about an ideology, okay? We're not harming anybody. We're talking
It's
about killing.
metaphorical. God
We're
damn.
talking about killing ideas, okay? Like, not people. Jesus Christ. Okay. Anyways.
Oh, apparently I almost perfectly pronounced Alex Cop's name. Okay. Next question is from D. D is asking us, can you tell us about what hackers managed to get across Iranian TV? Reports are blaming MEK. Can you elaborate on this for us?
Oh, you have to ask me
This is
later.
for
I
this
just
guy.
No, it's not, because I saw it on the news and I haven't watched it yet. I didn't know if anybody would ask about it.
Ah,
I haven't.
damn.
Yeah. Sorry. Ask me again next week. I'm sorry. I have it on my to watch list, but I haven't checked it out. I know it's something about based on yeah. No, I should have watched that. It just came out. It just came out. It just came out while it was like just a few hours ago. So this
This is a
question,
thing. When it's the day for the patron questions, I'm like
I have to.
light sweating. I'm like, I better be up to date on my shit.
We need to be
Because
up to
they
date.
come. So like you gotta
Yeah.
come correct.
You know what? Because of this, I might just do an entire if it's juicy enough, I might do an entire stream on it. Okay, because of
That would be a good secular jihadist stream. I love
yeah.
the Iranian hacking stories. Like when they had the remember showing the footage of like that intelligence room getting hacked? It looked like a movie. Like all the screens were flashing. That's why everyone is posting about Rajavi on Twitter today.
Yeah.
It's
So
all
I
making
saw this.
sense now.
Yeah, I saw this on my on my YouTube no. So I was like, okay, I need to watch this. I didn't know it was a question today. I would have watched it if I knew. Okay, but I will. I will have an update on it. But the MEK hacking that sounds what? That's pretty intense. If they manage to hack Sima, which is Iran's national TV, that's insane that they managed to get that far. But yeah, we'll do it, guys. If you want to see me talk about this, subscribe to Secular Jihadist. I might do a video on it over there. Link in the description. Well, is there no? There's no link in the description. Just search for Secular Jihadist and then subscribe to that channel. Yeah.
All you guys should do that anyways.
Yeah.
Next question is from Music Guy. Music Guy is asking, kind of similar to the question from Alex. Thoughts on the Pope Francis urging Catholic parents not to condemn gay children. Excuse me. Yeah, and then I love Music Guy because he's even providing context within the question. Info, quote, parents who see that their children have different sexual orientations should not hide behind a condemning attitude, Francis said. Francis also allowed the 2021 publication of a document from the Vatican asserting that the Catholic Church won't bless same-sex unions because God, quote unquote, cannot bless sin.
Well,
what are your thoughts, Armin?
I think you should be more worried about whether same-sex couples will bless the Catholic Church, okay? Because their power is rising. You're gonna need their blessing more than they need yours.
We need the gay pope. Gay pope, get in here.
No, seriously, no, we're gonna move to a world where if the LGBT community doesn't approve of your bigotry, then you're gonna be in trouble. Okay, so you should there was a time where they had to oh, please bless us, the Catholic Church, and you're like, no. Okay, we're gonna move to a point where the Catholic Church is going to be like, oh, LGBT community, please don't completely get rid of we're gonna be better, and the LGBT community is like, no, you have done too much harm. You got to go. You got to go. We do not approve. Okay, so, but yeah, I'm glad that there's a reminder. It's so amazing that people want to congratulate the Catholic Church because of what? Because of hey, don't be abusive to your children. Wow, so nice. Don't be don't be don't be a bigot. Don't be your children who are feeling a certain ways. Don't be condemning them because of these natural urges that they have. And we're supposed to fucking clap for the Pope. Oh, don't be abusive. Don't be psychologically abusive to your kids. Congratulations. Even that is it's amazing how the Pope doesn't even say things that are supposed to be new. For example, I don't know, there's a difference between redemption and salvation I forgot what it is in the Catholic Church, and atheists can get one of them but not the other one, and the Pope was mentioning the one that they could already have access to, and it was nothing new, and people were like, oh my god, this is such a new thing in the Catholic Church, is saying atheists could also be saved through Jesus Christ, even though the Pope didn't say that. The Pope said already, was repeating the same thing, that there was already the position, and people keep congratulating for it, right? But like, this is not like, if the Pope even says like, Christianity already has like, oh, love this, hate the sin, love the sinner thing, right? So this is not like anything revolutionary. Be like, hey, don't be shitty to people. It's not supposed to be even kids. Even like, you're supposed to technically be even nice to like people who commit genocide, let alone kids who are feeling like that they're like, that's not like, this is nothing revolutionary or something.
What do you mean by
You know,
being nice?
huh?
What do you mean by that? You're supposed to
I'm
be
just
nice.
saying, like, not being like, this is not like contradicting any Catholic doctrine, right? So the Pope is not coming in and like in saying something that people are like, oh, things are getting better. You know what I mean? Like, he's just like
You have a point.
highlighting, like, yeah, point. Just repeating the parts of Christianity that people already think like is like nice, and like, for example, okay, I could be, if I was the Pope and I didn't want to introduce anything new but act like I'm making things better, right? I could keep saying like, hey, we should be nice to, I don't know, gay people. Jesus hung out with the sinners more than he hung out with anybody else, right? And technically, I'm not saying anything new in Christianity. That was already always there. I'm just highlighting the, flowery, nice parts. Oh, I think I have mail. I don't know. And then trying to get credit for making it act like, for acting like I'm making things better, even though this is actually horrible, right? So what are you saying? Like, these people are sinners, right? Like, hey, let's be nice to gay people. Jesus hung out all the time with the sinners. That sounds like a beautiful thing, but it's actually evil. Like, you're just like, let's hang out with them because they're, even Jesus hung out with the worst of all people. You know what I mean? So I don't know. Don't condemn. Like, do not condemn gay children. Like, think about this. Like, what was the alternative? The alternative was like, oh yeah, these are kids. They're feeling things. What do you want them to do? Do you want the Pope to say, but like, hey, be mean to your kids because they're gay? Like, was that the expectation? And all of a sudden, the Pope managed to raise above that, and now we're like, yay! I mean, do you want a cookie? Give the Pope a cookie for not saying be mean to your gay kids, right? And I'm glad like it followed up by something that shows that the Pope and the Catholic Church is still as like backwards and bigoted as it was before, right? Like, we don't bless same-sex unions because we can't bless sin. Well, fuck off.
It
Who
is
needs your blessing?
consistent though.
Yeah, it is consistent, and there's nothing new. Nothing is changing. This Pope is not making things better. It's just making things that were already bigoted seem more lovey-dovey. Okay, like, it's just putting a lipstick on their bigotry. Okay, and people are celebrating it. It doesn't need any celebration.
Lipstick on
okay?
bigotry. It sounds kind of gay.
Shut up. No, I just like, we don't want to bless sin. Like, I just want us to move past like requiring, like, the world needs to pass requiring blessing of the Catholic Church. Okay, it should mean nothing. It should be, people should be proud of not being blessed by the Catholic Church, right? People are like, the blessing by the Catholic Church should be an embarrassment. It should be like, it should be a curse. It should be like, hey, get your fucking blessing, keep it to yourself. I don't want your blessing.
This joke from Alex killed me. So the Pope Francis, it's Pope Franchise.
Hey, no, that's not good. We don't use that as an insult. That sounds like
It's not.
we're using
It's not an insult. It's a play on words. Instead of
okay,
Pope
but
Francis. Come on, that's funny. What are you talking about?
I don't know. I just feel like we're using trans as a way to make fun of the Pope. I don't like that. But okay, sure.
No, it's just it's play on his name. Goodness.
Okay.
Okay, guys. Well, thank you. If you have made it this far, it is now time for live chat questions. And if you want your questions to be answered first, or to make sure that we answer your questions, become a patron, where you get those bonuses, those goodies, and we won't lose your question in the live chat. So, first live chat question is from Rudresh. Rudresh is asking, where do you draw the line between patriotism and nationalism / jingoism? That's an interesting question. What do you think, Armin? I need to think for a second.
I don't know. Okay, so here's the thing. I've noticed that different people have different definitions for nationalism. Okay, so because people and everybody thinks like, oh no, this is nationalism, or people like, no, this is nationalism, and they're so convinced that their definition is the correct one. Okay, and given that I've seen so many different definitions for these words, instead of like defining going like, oh, this is the difference, and that's why, I don't know, nationalism is bad, or but patriotism is good, or vice versa. Instead of doing that, I always just go like, okay, if this is what you mean, I'm against it. If this is what you mean, I'm for it. Okay, so instead of like throw out all the words, okay, because people seem to disagree on the definitions, and like there's 3 different categories of what could be either described as patriotism or nationalism, and one of them, it's neither good or bad. Okay, one of them is bad, and one of them is good. Okay, so I have 3 versions. Okay, so the one that is neither good or bad, okay, in my opinion, and you can enjoy it if you like. If you like it, you enjoy it. If you don't like it, you don't have to. You should just not condemn the people who don't feel like that. Okay, so this is the neutral one. The neutral one is that if you have some degree of nostalgia for things that are associated with your country, some degree of you enjoy the culture, the poetry, the colors, the smell, the history. It gives you a sense of, I don't know, there's some sense of familiarity, some sense of belonging. There's a food that you eat, like even like if you're outside of the country, when you see the art from there, or you eat from the food from there, you get this sense of like happiness and joy. Okay, I'm trying to not use the word pride. Okay, just this is sense of like, oh, I'm home now. Okay, like you feel like this homeness. Okay, and this is like my childhood, my upbringing, everything, like, and all those positive feelings, right? And you want to enjoy that, then you can enjoy that. Okay, or like if you hear the poetry from your, oh, you can like, these are the songs of my people, all right, something like that, right? Like but or yeah, so all of that is this just harmless fun and enjoyment. If the dance, the music, the poetry, the food, the colors, the art, um the history. If you just have this desire to enjoy all of that, and it just happens to be the place you're born, there's no harm in enjoying all of that. Okay, but at the same time, if somebody doesn't enjoy that and you condemn them of being less of your fellow countrymen, you feel like, oh, you're less American or less Iranian, or you're, I don't know, less Egyptian because of you not enjoying this or not liking this, then you need to cut that shit out. If you enjoy it, you enjoy it. If somebody doesn't enjoy it, even though they're from there, that's just not their cup of tea, and that's fine. Okay, so that's the brand of nationalism, or whatever you want to call it, of things that is neither harmful or harmless. If you enjoy it, go for it. If you don't. Okay, so that's version number 1. Version number 2, which is harmful, is the version of nationalism that you associate people that happen to be born within these borders as somehow superior, and more deserving of defending, and more deserving of rights, or more deserving, and you want them to come out ahead of people outside of those borders, right? So you're like, these are the people within this country, they're superior, they're better. You make collective claims about them, right? You're saying like, oh, they're smarter, they're braver, anything like. And then if there's a conflict, or if there's any disagreement, you just happen to take the side of the people that are born within that border, that area, just because you're also like, it's a form of tribalism, right? It could get even more ugly by becoming, you feel some sense of ethnic superiority. cultural superiority. So it's beyond. It's now moved to not just like, oh, I enjoy it. No, it's just like, no, it's inherently superior. It's inherently better. Okay, we're better than the rest of the people on this planet. Okay, and then people that you have you have never met, and you've never are not friends with, and know nothing about. You just see them as your members of your own family for some reason, just because they happen to be being born within this border, and then you defend them above other people just because they're your fellow countrymen or women. Okay, that is a toxic. That's extremely toxic. That's extremely dangerous, and that's a form of nationalism that causes a lot of harm. Okay, you go from a humanist to caring about humans in general and trying to make the world a better place, to all of a sudden just be like playing this zero-sum game of like, no, we're in we're against other people. Like we are, it's us, it's this country against the world, and this you all of a sudden are not trying to make the planet better, but only this country better. Okay, that is extremely dangerous, and it's toxic to the planet. Okay, so now the beneficial, another thing that sometimes people talk about nationalism, and this one is not it's not harmful, it's not neutral, this is actually a good thing, and I think I agree with that, is that if you say, I just believe in nations, you know what I mean? Like, if you think nationalism, which some people maybe refer to it as civic nationalism, is just the belief in the idea that nationhood and borders and the modern idea of what a nation is, right? It's the best form of managing different geographical areas, right? Like, this is the idea that came out of the Age of Enlightenment. This Western European concept of a nation has been very beneficial into managing vast areas of different geographies, like the way coming up with there's nothing that has been better. Like ever since we came up with the idea of a nation state, every area on the planet that didn't just accepted that model was so left behind that it soon became apparent that if you don't accept this model, like, the whole world is now abiding by it, right? The idea of a nation state came out of the Age of Enlightenment, and the ideas that came out of the late 1800s Western Europe. It became so apparent that this is the way to manage countries in a way that soon there's nowhere in the world that is not adapting that structure anymore, right? So I do believe in borders. I do believe in nations. It is the best way to run everything. However, that doesn't mean just because you accept that this model works, that doesn't mean that you all of a sudden make the borders. The borders are not sacred. The people within this border are not superior to beyond the people like that are outside of this border. There's nothing special about it. This is just a very effective way of managing the world. Okay, so if you believe in the utility of that, the belief in utility of that, if you call that nationalism, then I agree with that. I am a civic nationalist, or whatever you want to call it. But that's as far as I go. I do believe in the utility of nations, right? So those are I categorize that into those three sections: the neutral, the harmful, and the useful one. Does that make sense?
Yeah, you covered about every aspect of that. So I'll just leave it there.
Okay.
Saying greetings to you, a follower from Iraq, from Babylon. Hello.
Yeah. Hello.
Hello in Arabic is marhaba, right?
No, that's welcome. Wait.
Damn.
No, ahlan wa sahlan is welcome. Marhaba. What is marhaba? Marhaba means
marhaba.
like
Marhaba.
I thought that means marhaba is what? Is Soha here? Marhaba is like what? Marhaba.
I was trying to be cute, but just making it too complicated.
No, it is hello. Yeah, all right. Then what? Okay. So what's the difference between marhaba and salam? I guess
marhaba,
one of them is
habibi.
One of them is less religious, I guess. Interesting.
Cute. Okay. um, Jack Knight is saying, will you guys do a part 2 of the review of Daniel and Destiny debate?
Yes.
Damn,
Yes. Ooh.
I think that's scheduled for next week, right?
Yes.
Or maybe the week after that.
Yeah.
Oh, Susanna, you always look beautiful. Well, thank you. Rudresh is asking, nearly every American right-wing pro-Israel government has been equally pro-Saudi Arabia. But the right loves Israel and hates Saudi. Why the Saudi/Israel policy comes as a package deal? Ooh, this is complex.
Wait, well, it's because of the Abrahamic Accords. I mean,
well,
it's not
no, before then, it's also an anti-Iran measure.
Yeah, I mean, it has. I mean, even before the Abrahamic Accords, it has become obvious that the Saudis are taking a side of Israel against Iran. So there's that. Also, it's very convenient to have token Arabs as a way to be like, hey, we don't hate all Arabs. Look at these Arabs. We like them just because they're also fighting our enemies, right? So it's kind of like tokenism, I guess. Is that what it's called? We're like, this is
I guess so. Yeah.
I mean, if a lot of the people who are pro the Islamic Republic, okay, they also have token Arabs, right? So, which is the Shia Arabs, right? They're like, so I think it's just the opposite, right? So I guess like the people who support the Islamic Republic of Iran, they're also are technically right wing, okay, and they're extremely racist and very anti-Arab, okay, but they also have this version of like, well, I mean, Syrian Arabs and Lebanese Arabs, they're like, and this is how they defend them. They're not like original Arabs. They're like, they're okay because they're not like Arab. I'm not saying YouTube. I'm not saying that. I'm describing what these racists would say. Right? They're like, oh, the OG Arabs are the Gulf Arabs, so it's okay for us to defend like Syrian Arabs or Lebanese Arabs because they're not really Arab. Okay, like
or
they're
even
like,
the Palestinians. Don't the Palestinians actually have a lot of Persian heritage?
I don't know. I don't think so. Well, I mean,
I've heard people say that like Palestinians, if you actually look genetically, like they're not as Arab as people think. Not that it matters. I just thought that was really interesting, if true.
Yeah, I don't think it matters. I mean, that whole area got mixed. Okay, so the Palestinian area used to be part of Persian Empire for a long time until the Ottoman Empire took it over. Okay, and then the Ottoman Empire took it over. I don't know how much the Ottomans managed to get their genes involved in there, but who gives a shit? Okay, I don't think we should like play into this whole. Yeah, people are like, should we be against you or defend you? Or like, well, let's talk about your DNA. Like, okay, no, like people are discussing each other's DNA and heritage to decide whether or not they should be on your side or not on your side. It just shows how ethno-national, like this ethnic superiority, is such a toxic thing around Middle East. Like I don't think we should give into. We should even start the conversation about like whether or not they're right or wrong about how Arab or Persian a community is, right? But yeah, I mean, I think like what's happening is like it's a lot of tokenism, right? It's a lot of like, we're not racist. Look at this. We love these Arabs. Yes, we don't want like these are the same people who are like think Israel will become like they're trying to turn Israel into an ethno state. So they're trying to fight against the Arabization of Israel. Like this is their nightmare, right? That's what they're trying to avoid. So they are racist. They are extremely racist. So if they're supporting Arabs outside of their borders, it's also reminds me of like um, white ethno nationalists who'd be like, we're not against blacks. We just want them to be separate. We want them to be in Africa. and they could have their Wakanda. Like, we want them to do so great in Africa. We wish the best for the black people, just not in Europe, right? Just leave Europe, leave North America, go back to Africa, and when you're there, we're gonna be like, yay, build your own nations, and we hope everything works out for you. Okay, so we're not racist. We just want to be separate. Okay, so I feel like it's kind of also the same thing, right? These are the same right-leaning people who want to make sure that Israel does not become too Arabic. All right, but if they're like outside of if they're living outside of Israel, and they also, if they're against your enemies, so if they're against Islamic Republic of Iran, then we will be like, yay, we love these Arabs as long as you're not in our country. So it's very similar, right? Don't you feel like it's similar?
I just like this comment from D saying race and ethnicity are very poor indicators of a person's character. That's the moral of this story.
Yeah. Okay, but somebody's focus on race and ethnicity as a way to judge people, it's a very good indicator of a person's character, which is
that as well.
Yes. Somebody's saying, what is Ottoman in Persian? Osmanian.
Oh, I like the sound of that.
Yeah.
But it also sounds like Uthman.
Well, that's where the name comes from. Ottoman comes from Osman.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
And how do the lovers of Ahl Bayt feel about that?
They don't like it.
Exactly. Freedom Forever is saying, will Atheist Republic do a collaboration with Only Sky Media to create new secular culture / traditions for the atheist / agnostic community all over the world? By the way, I am an ex-Muslim atheist from Malaysia. That's awesome. Hello from America to Malaysia. Well, we haven't been invited to collaborate with Only Sky Media, but I'm open to collaboration. I really love to build relationships across the atheist and agnostic community. But yeah, I'm really in support of the new Only Sky project. I'm was shocked and disappointed about how the Pathos thing panned out. So I'm glad that there are people coming together to make the content that they want to make and be an atheist loudly and not have their relationships or their work be valued conditionally based on, the condition being silencing yourself and silencing your own criticism. So, yeah. Rudresh is asking, what do you think of the gray zone? Are they doing good journalism?
No.
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 They are not doing good journalism. I feel very upset and disappointed when I see good, well-meaning, very loving and progressive lefties that I'm friends with, wholeheartedly citing and posting stuff from the gray zone. I'm like, oh no, baby. Oh honey. They are good if you want to know what a shill would say. So it's helpful content to watch if you're interested in that perspective.
They're tankies. They're basically they are propaganda. They just do propaganda for authoritarian regimes. That's their entire point. They're defending the worst of all regimes. I don't know. I feel like if they were in I think they would be defending the SIF if that was a thing. Right? They defend the CCP, they defend
the Sith.
Yeah, they would if it was real. They would.
Darth Vader did nothing wrong.
Seriously, wouldn't the gray zone be on their side if there was a real thing? I'm pretty sure they would be. They would be like everybody's misrepresenting them. I'm pretty sure that
is a conspiracy. You can't prove that.
Yeah, no, they're defending the CCP, they defend Putin, they defend the Islamic Republic of Iran. They're basically making sure that they take the wrong side on everything. So it's you can't And like they're the side of evil. Anyways, it's horrible.
Next question: cats or dogs? Which are better? Dogs.
In what way? I don't know. Yeah.
Oh my god,
I mean,
you're thinking about this too much.
okay, fine, dogs.
You own dogs, Armin.
Yeah, I just have to know what better means, but yeah, it's easier to make. I guess it's just easier to have a relationship with a dog because you get something back. The cats, you don't get anything back. They don't seem to care about you. Dogs, they care about you. Yeah,
True.
I actually you can notice how much your dog loves you. Okay, I don't think any cats. I don't think any cat loves their owner. Okay, I think cats love what their owner does for them. I just
And
don't
they
think
tolerate the owner.
yeah, they tolerate the owner. Like I guess if they have to, the scratch has to come with this human attached to it. I'll tolerate this. I'll get it the way I can, right? But if I could get the scratch without the human attached to it, I'll that would be as good as just as good, right? But I think with the dog, there's this genuine need for for the human to be attached to it because like there's this genuine desire for affection by a human when it comes to dogs, right? Actually, that also makes dogs a lot more difficult to own, okay? Because if you can't spend time with them, then you're failing them, right? It's easier to satisfy a cat because your dog will become depressed if they need you, they need your companion, they need your emotions, they need to feel like they're loved, and if you can't provide them that, then you're failing them as an owner because they're going to become depressed, right? So they become more high maintenance, I guess, relative to a cat, I guess. So that's another thing.
Next, so this is quick from Konaga saying, why is there no stories on Lavanya? Well, we are going to be talking about this on the news. This is a really, really big story coming out of India right now. So this is going to be like our top story of the news week. So tune in. We'll talk about this in 2 days. Mir Jalal is saying, do you think it's sexist for an employer to ask a lady employee if she is planning to get married soon in a job interview for concern that she might take a long break? I think definitely. In the US, this might constitute employment discrimination. Because I know that there are laws around, like, if you're in a job interview and they're pressuring you about if you're going to have like a pregnancy soon, or if they don't hire you because they think that you might have a baby soon, that's employment discrimination and you can sue for that. So
there are ways you could do this that is not sexist, right? You could just put this question on every application, and it could be like not related to anything sex related. You could be like, ask everybody, are you planning on taking a long break in the foreseeable future, right? You could ask men and women at the same time, and then yeah, that's what you could do. Or you could get people to prove their commitment regardless of their gender. I don't know how you would prove that, but yeah, we could just make it a requirement across the board.
Next question is from Erica, saying, for Armin, growing up in Iran, did you read about the Ahmadi and Ibadi sects of Islam?
We just had I never met anybody that I knew. I'm pretty sure I met the Ahmadis. No, we learned more about we learned about Baha'is, and we were just told that it's a British conspiracy. We didn't learn much about it. No, this was officially in our school books that the British made this.
Oh my god!
yeah. We didn't learn about the Ahmadis or Baha'is, but we did learn about Baha'is, and it was, I think, if I remember correctly, it was less than a paragraph. I was just like, yep, this was a thing that the British made up as a way to create divide and fitna. inside the Islamic world. So that's what I.
The
Yeah,
Ibadi
last
sect
time.
is very interesting. Ibadi.
Yeah, we didn't touch up at all on the Ahmadis and Ibadis. Just
Most
the
people don't even
Baha'i.
know that Ibadis exist.
Look, Qasim is saying I'm still in Iran. I know nothing about them. So see, this is completely something that was completely. Yeah,
What's
the first time I learned about Ahmadis was when I already left Iran, right? And I was like, "Wait, is this the Baha'is?" They were like, "No." I'm like, it sounds like they're the Baha'is. They're like, like, no, they're not. There's something
there's
else. I'm
more?
like, there's more. There-
When did you learn about the Ibadis?
I mean, I learned about them a little bit on YouTube. Not
No,
much
but
actually.
when?
I don't remember when.
Oh, okay. I think it's really
Anyway.
interesting how they came from the Hajarites.
Yeah,
That's how you say it, right?
like
Well, not
Kharijites, Khawarij.
Harajites. Thank you.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Khawarij is the Arabic version.
Okay, thanks.
They're in Oman mostly, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
Anyways.
because the Harajites are like hated by every other sect for being so freaking hardcore. But
Yeah,
now,
we were told the
when else did they
Khawarij were.
killed Ali? Ya Ali. But
Yeah.
but now they're like the most peaceful.
Yeah, we were told that the Khawarij, the people who are the Khawarij of today, are basically ISIS. Okay, and now we actually look like the real Khawarij of today are actually seem to be the most peaceful, which is weird. Okay, but that's another topic.
Oops, wrong. Neptune is saying Armin and Susanna and other people of AR team must be protected at any cost. Well, that's very sweet.
Thank you. Is that profile picture from the Green movie? What was that? The Green Knight?
No.
It looks okay. That looks like the Green Knight.
If
Okay.
it was my king, Dev Patel, I would know.
Okay.
God, he's so hot in that movie. Cassis is saying, Armin, please, what is the name of that website you say you use to learn many things from professors? Wondurium.
Link in the description. If you want to use that, make sure you use our affiliate link. Link is in the description. Okay. So Wondurium is basically this website that you get 2 weeks for free just to try it. So to see if you like it or not. But you get the best university professors to give you lectures on religion, economics, science. It's fantastic. Okay, history, right? You get basically grade A university instructors teaching you stuff in your living room, right? So it's fantastic. Okay, I learned so much from there. It's better than books. Okay, I'm not being an anti-intellectual when I say it's better than books because these are university professors. Okay, so yeah, check it out. Link. It's Wondrium. It used to be called the Great Courses. They rebranded to Wondrium, and if you use the link in the description, we get a cut. Okay, we get a small cut, even if you don't decide to go from the free version to the paid version. But you get to try it for free. You get to finish an entire course for free before you decide if you want to be a paid member. So there's no harm in trying, and you learn something new for free. Okay, so link in the description. Wondrium. Don't go to Wondrium by yourself. Make sure you use your affiliate link. Okay, I recommended something very valuable to you. So
yes, and
use
it's
the
a great way to
affiliate link.
support the show.
Yes, but no cost to you.
Neptune is saying, Armin, I'm waiting for your next stream on Hinduism. Please, Armin, please.
Yes, I will.
People, the ex-Hindus, they're saying, please, we need you to rip Hinduism another asshole again.
I was supposed to do it earlier. I got sick, so now I'm better.
Yeah, Armin has been very sick lately. Here's a question for me. Step aside. This is what I like to get into. Okay. Sabella Toratu is saying, what are the signs that someone has been manipulated into a cult, and how do you get them out? Well, Sabella Toratu, I would suggest this book written by America's leading cult expert, Dr. Stephen Hassan, called Combating Cult Mind Control. He has a fantastic model that he uses to help illustrate how you know if someone has joined a destructive organization. And it's called the BITE model, in all caps, if you want to look that up. And basically the signs are the degree to which a ideology or organization or community exerts control over the individual, control in their behavior, their emotions, their thoughts, and the information that they are allowed to receive and go seek out. An amazing way to tell if something is a destructive organization is to see what happens to someone when they try to leave an organization. That is one of the telltale signs of how toxic a ideology or a community can be, is what happens when someone tries to leave. Will they be excommunicated? Will they be disfellowshipped? Will they be ostracized? Will they be abused? Will there be threats against their life? Will they be stalked? Will there be physical abuse against them? Will there be coercion to get them back in? All those things are real red flags about a destructive organization. And you asked, how do you get them out? Again, I would really look into the work of Dr. Stephen Hassan. If you don't want to read his whole book, he has a YouTube channel that I really like. Look for the YouTube channel Freedom of Mind. And you can look at a lot of information. He talks about this often. He has an entire book dedicated to getting people out, although he also talks about it in this book. It's like way too much in depth for me to get into right here. So I would just really refer you to his channel. Or so this book is more meant for like ordinary people. But if you want to get really into the weeds of it, this is written by a psychiatrist, Robert J. Lifton, Thought Reform and the Psychology of Totalism. This is the seminal book on brainwashing, studying people who survived Chinese communist indoctrination. And this is like really where it's at. But this is a little bit more hefty. A lot of people don't know that the term brainwashing actually comes from Chinese to describe what the communists would do to people. So yes, this is a huge area of interest for me, and I'm glad you asked. So this is just kind of funny. So the Hindufa infiltration person, they've changed their name now to the Liberal, which is and even though Hindufa infiltration has, still been going after us in the live chat, and they're welcome to do that. Very firm on their criticism against us, which, that's fair. Even he is saying, subscribe to Atheist Republic, people.
Aww, I like
even
that.
Though he thinks we're conspiracy theorists, like, I appreciate it.
I appreciate that too.
Look, we're friends. We're cool, right?
Yes. We're making friends with Hindutva. That's great.
Well, we already actually had like Hindufa people who supported us, mainly just because they really spoke out against the way that we were really badly abused. Which I appreciate. You don't have to like
actually
us.
Let me actually send out another olive branch to some Hindus here as well. Okay. So we have a Bengali Hindu. He's saying many ex-Hindus manufacture history just to blame Hindus for everything. Not promoting atheism.
I think they mean instead of just focusing on promoting atheism.
Right. I actually agree. That's true. I think it's, I noticed that with people who leave Islam or Christianity as well, they sometimes go overboard when it comes to describing what actually happened in history, right? So I think like Islam, Hinduism, Christianity, Judaism, they have done a lot of harm throughout history. But I think a lot of people who leave these religions sometimes exaggerate the harm. So I think like that's actually they they overemphasize parts of history and they add something to it that is not there, or they interpret it in a much harsher way than actually what happened, right? So I'm not saying the harm was not there. The harm was there and the harm was significant. But I do think like some people want to make it even bigger than what it was, and they do manufacture history. So I assume that also happens with ex-Hindus, right? Given that it happens with ex-Christians and ex-Muslims and ex-Jewish people, I'm assuming that ex-Hindu atheists will also sometimes exaggerate the evil done by in the name of Hinduism, right? So yeah, you have to just make sure that you're pointing out the actual harm and not adding to it. So I agree, Bengali Hindu, I agree with what you're saying, and we hope to, this is why we open the live chat to Hindus, so that if we ever do that, you guys are here to point that out to us, right? So there's that.
Yeah. Kiki is asking, quick question. Black magic is said to have a very real impact on people, especially in South Asia. And then saying Kala Jadu, I believe that's referring to the name of the practice. How do we help those people who are supposedly hexed? This is a very interesting question because it really speaks to how powerful the placebo effect is, and it can have literal physical experienced consequences on people's health. In terms of how do we help those who are hexed, that's a very difficult question. I think if there is a way, so
it's the nocebo, not the placebo, I think.
What do you mean?
Placebo has positive effect. Nocebo has negative effect.
Okay, that must be a new phrase because the placebo effect just refers to like having an intervention that isn't actually adding anything. It's just creating the belief based on context and environment that there is something that is being changed, like that there is an intervention.
It's positive.
And then
the placebo is just positive.
Okay,
but go. Yeah.
So one thing that some people do for people who have been in cults, particularly like guru cults, where the guru is alleged to have these like superpowers, is that if you can demonstrate to them that they can have that same effect through other means, that will break down their belief in the power of that, of what they experienced prior or what their previous experience was. So for example, this guy Stephen Hassan, he was working to help get people out of some form of a guru cult, and the victim that he was working with was talking about how they would experience this guru as levitating and literally shining with light. And Dr. Hassan learned hypnotic technique. So he hypnotized this person to basically have the same experience. And then they basically said, like, look, I could reproduce that experience for you, like, right now. Do you still think that person, but you don't think I'm a guru? Like, you don't think I didn't tell you beforehand, I didn't indoctrinate you to believe that I had these, but I just replicated that experience for you. Like, do you still think that this occurred from magical means? So that has, I don't know how you would execute it in these specific practices, if it's possible to have a kind of control intervention like that. That's not the right term, but yeah, I don't know. And you also have to think about how could you execute something like that in a way that is not potentially psychologically damaging. That's very difficult. Do you have thoughts?
No, that was pretty complete. I just hope that Kiki didn't think these hexes are real.
I don't think. I don't think so.
Okay. All right.
Well, hexed is in parentheses.
Okay. Yes, you're right. Not parentheses, quotation, but yes.
Oh
right.
shoot! I'm not right. um
Oh yeah, and also secular racism. Technically, Armin is correct, but Susanna is also right. Just placebo using it in non-technical use. Okay, cool. That makes sense. All right, next question.
Gasian American is asking, what are your thoughts on Orientalism and its effect on Western coverage of Chinese events?
Depends on what you mean by
Ooh.
Orientalism. Okay, because Orientalism, some people are just describing in this. I don't know. My understanding. I don't know, Susanna. What do you think when you hear Orientalism? Because some people describe like this whole racist or stereotypical way of Westerners looking at people, that anybody that is not Western. But Orientalist also describes a very academic and not racist and not stereotypical way of studying um, different cultures. So I don't know if it's. So I've seen Orientalism to be referring to good or bad things at the same time. What do you think?
Oh no, I agree. I think it can mean both of those things. There's like the
Yeah.
academic study of the Orient, just like
Mhm.
how is there the academic study of the Occidental, meaning the
Yeah.
Western. Um, but then there's also Orientalism as in this exotification of particularly East Asian cultures, seeing it as this thing that is like very mysterious and foreign and oftentimes like a
I mean, there's
really
nothing wrong with that.
well no, but it's kind of an inaccurate representation of a lot of these
Okay.
cultures. Anyways, um so I think that a big flaw in Western coverage of Chinese events is probably, again, I don't think I'm the best person to talk about these things. I'm starting to get the impression that there is a lack of understanding about just how a lot of Chinese culture operates, particularly in terms of um, social strata and beliefs around piety or more collectivist orientations and beliefs about duty and saving face. I think saving face is something, an aspect that is really misunderstood in the West, and the West. Um, I think it's something that I fail to understand often. And Asian American, I do still want to talk to you about saving face sometime. I'm just really busy with a lot of my work and all this stuff right now. But uh yeah, I think this kind of there's such a big language difference. It really contributes to people viewing it as just like so foreign and so different, like this kind of canyon that they can't really cross. Um, and that divide, I think, really inhibits real nuanced understanding. What do you think? Because we've kind of started paying attention to more like China watchers on YouTube
Yeah, I
recently.
think like what some of these so-called Orientalists, like especially from the academic area, they're actually the best way to study these areas. Like, so if you want to get hurt over that, like for example, like when I'm thinking about Orientalists, um, I'm looking at it more from, like I am more familiar with it when it comes to how they are described from an Islamic perspective, right? So in the Islamic studies world, you have these people who are Islamic scholars, and they want to study Islam from an Islamic perspective, and they want to dismiss everybody else, all the academics studying Islam in a secular way, and they describe them as Orientalists, and they're like, oh, this is just like a Western perspective and an inaccurate perspective of Islam. But actually, it's the complete opposite. It's actually their studies who is completely biased in favor of Islam and wants to look at everything from an Islamic perspective. And if you actually want to understand Islam, these so-called Orientalists who are actually studying things from an academic secular perspective, they actually have the most nuanced and unbiased take. Um, so if you want to dismiss them as Orientalist, well, you're dismissing the best takes on Islam.
No, but what about in relation to China? Like I was
Well,
asking
that's
about
what I'm
like
saying. Like that's what my familiarity is when it comes to like trying to dismiss people as Orientalists. That's what I'm more familiar with, right? I don't know exactly who are they describing as Orientalists when it comes to studying or describing China, right? I don't know how that, but that's my family. What I could talk to is the fact that a lot of Islamic scholars or a lot of students of Islamic scholarship who just describes everything from the point of view of Islam, that's that they characterize everything academic as Orientalist and dismiss it, right? That's what I'm familiar with. So I'm not familiar with this other,
Okay. Well, in terms of
categorization.
China watchers that we consume their content online, what do you think that they might get wrong or inaccurate or not understand about China?
I mean, the ones that we watch are people who, they've been deep inside that culture, right? They lived in China. They're married to that. They have families in China, and I think like they have the best takes because I mean they came from a position of trying to like celebrate the culture, but they were forced out of it, right? Um, I think that sometimes not being part of it but being associated with the culture, it gives you the best perspective. Like some people are like saying like, oh no, you have to be Persian to be able to speak to Persian culture, or you have to be Chinese to be able to speak to Chinese culture. Sometimes they actually get a benefit from having one foot in and one foot out, to get the best unbiased, top down perspective. Like if you're not, because if you just come from that culture, you might not see things that an outsider might be able to see, right? So being both an insider and an outsider sometimes does give you the best perspective.
I think the people that we watch have a slightly diminutive attitude towards mainland Chinese in particular, to be honest.
But they don't blame it on them, they blame it on the environment that they were born in. So I think that's fair. I mean, it's kind of fair though. Like the things that they say is true. Like for example, a lot
I
of
feel like
mainland.
they exaggerate. They sometimes, and I trust me, I really don't like the CCP, but sometimes I think they really exaggerate how good China was before the CCP, which is something I
I
think is
mean,
a real disservice. They act
hmm.
like everything in China was just like hunky dory beforehand. I was like, no, there was like
Not
feudal
really.
systems. Like people were suffering.
No, wait. I mean, they were. Wait, what do you mean? They go against Mao? Like, are you talking about between Mao and Xi?
No, I'm talking about the Qing dynasty. They act like before
Ah.
the
Oh, that
communist
far
revolution.
behind. That far back.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I don't know about that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was like,
Okay.
life under the Qing dynasty wasn't just like easy for everyone. I don't know what they're talking about. Let's go to another question. Atheist Republic, what is your opinion on the Persian influence of India and the inferiority complex of Indian Muslims and them claiming to be Arabs?
Hmm. Yeah, actually, yeah, it's weird because it's either Arab or Persian, right? So they have this idea. It's interesting because the Persians all have their own inferiority complex, right? So I don't know why so many people in the subcontinent want to act like they're Arabs or Persian because they see their own ethnicity as inferior.
Or Turks.
And that,
Turks sometimes.
yeah. But then the Persians, they see themselves as inferior to Europeans, so they have their own and the Arabs also have their own inferiority complex, right? Yeah, it's interesting to Persians because Persians they have this. They met a lot of Persians have both an inferiority complex and a superiority complex, right? So they clearly, like a lot of them, see themselves as superior to Arabs and the ethnicity of the subcontinent, like the Indians and Pakistanis, like they see themselves as superior to that, right? But they when it comes to the hierarchy, they see themselves as below Caucasians, right? They might not say it, they might not admit it, but they act like it, right? Like they see themselves. Like, for example, if you go to a Persian and you mistake them with an Arab, you're likely to see them getting extremely butthurt, okay? Again, I'm not generalizing, I'm just saying likelihood, okay? But if you say like, hey, you look Spanish, you know, do you have some, are you Spanish? Then you see them get very, they feel like they just feel like they got a compliment, right? If you tell a Persian person that they look like, are they Arabic, they get offended. If you tell them that they look Spanish, they get very pleasant, you know, they get very happy and pleasant with you, right? So the idea of some people wanting to claim that they're Arab to be superior to the race that they already have, it would be far to the reason I grew up in that environment. I grew up in an environment where I saw the Persian ethnicity to be extremely superior to an Arab ethnicity, right? So that's why it's a very foreign concept to me for some people to pretend to be Arab. Like, look how much the racism has been somewhat internal. You can see that how I'm still affected by it, right? To be like, wait, if you want to pretend to be superior, why would you go with Arab instead of Persian? Like,
Oh
you can see that I'm a product of an environment that is extremely racist.
I'm ending the show here.
No. Like, no, I'm acknowledging that this is some dark stuff that is a product of the environment that I was born in. That is there's a foreign idea to me that somebody wants to be Arab to deal with their inferiority conflict. Like, it shows that no matter how much you fight against racism, there are some parts of this whole brainwashing that is so ingrained inside your psyche that it just stay there. Like, no matter how much you try to wash it up, you still hear some things and you're like, what? Right? So it's very disgusting, right? I'm just admitting that it seems like you can't get rid of it. I think there's a whole bunch of colorism that is working parallel to the race superiority, right? Like, I think like a lot of this, the idea, I mean, Arabs, for example, are lighter, right, than a lot of people in the subcontinent, right? And I think like that is how they identify who's the superior race and who's not the superior race, right? I mean, I think a lot of Westerners have this idea of a race being invented because of the North Atlantic slave trade, and skin color just played into those modern definitions of what races are, right? But I think colorism predates that. Okay, you could even read in the hadith, in the Islamic hadith, talking about people's dark skin as to dismiss them as inferior, and describing people with lighter skin as superior. Like, this is right. And you could even see, like, in the Indian caste system, in very, very ancient texts, describing different castes skin color, right? Talking about lower caste people as darker and upper caste people as lighter, right? So this whole colorism, in a way that is tied to heretical traits, is something that predates like the form of slavery that was the form of racism that was invented by the North Atlantic slave trade, right? And I think, like, for example, if you see the way that the people from the Indian subcontinent are treated when they go to Arab countries, right? Either as modern day slaves, or just tourists, or just like for the Hajj or something like that, right? How are they? How, when they are mistreated, the only way they are unidentified is their darkest skin color, right? So you can see that how bad of an experience a lot of Pakistanis or Indians or Bangladeshis have in Arabic countries, how they're treated as like inferior because of their darker skin color, right? So I think like one reason why a lot of people want to associate with Arabs is because they're generally lighter, right? What do you think?
Yeah, that's I know that that plays a really big role in things in places like Qatar, where there's a lot of immigrant labor. Um, yeah, I'm. It's not something I'm super familiar with, but I know that it's something that African Muslims experience a lot, or
Yeah.
not even African Muslims, but Muslims like in Saudi that have African heritage, of which there are a ton, experience a lot of those issues in that area as well. So there's also similarly a lot of affiliation with an Arab identity that may be somewhat ahistoric for some populations, which have in the African continent as well, which I think is very interesting.
So okay, the liberal who's used to be Hindutva is saying no, Armin, color wasn't cast. I didn't say color is cast. Okay, I said that within Hindu scripture, right, very old Hindu scripture, you see descriptions of different caste skin color, which shows how ancient colorism is, right? It's, and I think like people are not surprised that it's not the other way around. That the lower castes are described as dark. The lower castes are described as darker, right? Higher castes are described as different skin colors, right? I think like if I didn't even tell you what the order goes, people would have guessed that. People wouldn't have guessed that the lower caste or the outcasts are described as lighter skin color. You know, nobody would have predicted that, and there's a good reason for it, right? Right.
I'm laughing because
Oh my God, look at this. You say, no, you are wrong. No description of skin color. This is how I know that I understand Hinduism more than a lot of Hindus, okay? Like, people are like, oh, Armin, why are you talking about Hinduism? You're not a Hindu. You don't understand Hinduism. I understand it, apparently. I know Hindu scripture more than most Hindus, because when the Hindus come and try to defend Hinduism, they don't know their own scripture. I know this. I know the scripture exists, okay? So this is why you can't criticize me for like, oh, why are you talking about Hinduism? Why are you not talking to a Hindu? Well, because I know it better than Hindus, most Hindus. Okay, I know that this scripture exists.
I'm laughing because Gossam was making jokes about the Persian Empire, and then and then he got himself in trouble in live chat
Yeah,
about the power of the Persian Empire. And they were like,
yeah, he's
"Oh
kidding. Yeah, that's him. Yeah.
no!"
Also, Nipton is saying, I agree with Armin 101%. Okay, that's fantastic.
Okay.
All right.
This is a little bit interesting. Armin, are you of Turkic extraction by any chance? Like Tajik, Turkmen, Uzbek, Azeri, etc. I asked because I heard the supreme leader of Iran himself is of Azeri background. Not sure of this. He's half Azeri.
Yeah, I don't know why people say Azeri. I think they're trying to like avoid saying Turk. Qasim, correct me if I'm right. Okay, I think people are like, yeah. So half Azeri. Yeah. Okay. I don't know actually. I don't know if there's a much of a difference, but not that I know of. I don't think so. But if I don't care about that. I have never cared enough to do a DNA test. Yeah. So my grandma is from Shiraz, and my grandfather is from Tehran, and there's nobody in their family speaks anything. I think like in Iran, anybody that comes from a Turkish background, there's a whole bunch of people in their family that speak Turkish, right? And I don't have that anywhere in the history of my family. I'm pretty sure there must be some, like, I'm pretty sure if I did a DNA test, there would be a little, there would be, yeah, mostly Persian, but I'm pretty sure there would be some Turkish, some Arabic, maybe a lot of Arabic. I don't know. I mean, I know I have reasons to believe. I have reasons to believe, based on my sexual encounters with other people, that I have benefited in some ways. Okay, so if that's
You're
because of that,
welcome.
If that's because of the Arabic DNA in me, then thank you, Arabs. Okay. But I'm pretty sure there must be some Jewish in me. Some, I don't know. Yeah, but I've never done a DNA check. Yeah.
Armin and Susanna, are you a Greek god and goddess by any chance?
Not that I know of. Again, I haven't done a DNA test on that either. I wouldn't be surprised. Okay. Yeah, again, based on my performance and my sexual encounters. Okay. Again, I would also maybe that would explain it. I mean, looking at Susanna,
You literally told me like I've been crafted by a Greek god, a pantheon of Greek gods.
Sometimes when I look at myself naked in the mirror, I'm like, damn. This is like, somebody needs to make a statue out of me and just worship it. I don't know. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if Susanna was a goddess, to be honest. Yeah. I mean, look at her. Look at Susanna. Right.
Erica's asking me, will you guys do videos on cults like the Nation of Islam or the Christian Identity Movement? I would love to, but I have so many things that take up my time right now. I can't. I got a job. I got Atheist Republic, and I'm trying to learn a new skill to get a new job. So,
okay, how many patrons do we need for you to be able to do Atheist Republic full time?
At least 1,000.
Okay, so if we get to 1,000 patrons, would you have time to sometimes do videos on topics like this, just with Susanna?
Oh my god, that'd be the best.
Okay,
that'd be the best.
Guys, get us to 1,000 patrons so Susanna could quit her full-time job, and she will have a lot more time for Atheist Republic. Link to our Patreon in the description. Can we say could we say that if you get to 1,000 patrons, Susanna will quit her job and do fully Atheist Republic?
Yeah, fair enough.
Okay, there you go. Guys, get us to 1,000 patrons. You get a lot more. Do you need any more incentive than that? Okay, we're gonna get a lot more Susanna if we get to 1,000 patrons. So get us to 1,000 patrons.
Ego recently became a patron, so thank you for that, Ego. Erica, as I now call you.
Ego is saying everyone become a patron. Oh, thank you, Ego.
Hard Tracer is saying Armin's greetings from Poland. You are a very important person to me. Thank you for your interview with Mohammed Hashem.
Oh, thank you. That just made my day.
That's so sweet.
Thank you. That's very sweet.
So Bella Toratu is asking, what do you think about the new Canadian law banning conversion therapy? Good. I actually don't know the details of this law. If it's only for minors, fantastic. If it's also for adults, even better.
Yeah. It should be legal. Any form of medical procedure that is not based on science should be illegal. You can't mess with people's health based on voodoo.
Medical.
Yeah.
Yeah. Your health or your psyche. That's too dangerous.
Yeah. I think homeopathy should be also illegal.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Also, this might offend a lot of people, but anything described as chiropractic license or doctor, that should be also illegal. Guys,
what about if you have traditional Chinese medicine?
Yeah, that also. And also the needle thing, that should also be illegal. Acupuncture. Anything described as like a medical benefit that is not proven by science, it should be a scam. It should be illegal. It should be considered fraud.
Well, they will bring forward like clinical studies to try to prove that it's like there's all this clinical evidence behind acupuncture.
No, okay, that's nothing beyond placebo. There's nothing beyond proven beyond placebo. Guys, if you're seeing a chiropractic, a professional, switch to a physiotherapist. Okay, switch to a physiotherapist. Okay, just go check your. Anyways,
but I like when my back goes crack.
Tell your physiotherapist that you like the crack sound. I'm pretty sure they're happy to oblige.
They'll do it for you. Gossam is once again mutinying. Any plan to have a stream on the Farsi channel tomorrow? Finally.
Yes, I'm scheduling today, guys. I was sick a bit. I'm sorry, I haven't been streaming on the Persian channel. I will. I promise. Okay, I promise. Tonight, I'm scheduling something for tomorrow tonight. Sorry about that.
They're all in Discord mutinying, just yelling, "Be Sharaf, be Sharaf."
No, they're not. Okay.
No shows, be Sharaf.
Okay, I will schedule. I was sick. I needed
fair
recovery time.
What are your favorite foods? Right now, I'm really craving sushi.
Sashimi. Salmon sashimi. Oh, I'm used to something I haven't had for years, and I don't know if I ever will. Okay, I used to be able to eat caviar when it wasn't this expensive in Iran. Okay, when I was a kid, we just like we didn't know. My mom told me like, some places in the world this is like a luxurious food, right? I'm like, this is just fish eggs. How could it be a luxurious food, right? But we used to have it so cheaply available to us.
It's like just a normal thing in Iran.
Not now, not anymore. But when I was a kid, it
yeah.
was. When I was a kid, we just ate like not those cheap orange ones. I'm talking about the big black ones. Okay, the and we just like spread like just one morning, we just had crackers and cheese and put caviar in it, and we just ate it like it was breakfast, right? And then many layers later, now I was in Vancouver in the Vancouver fish market. I was like, this much of it was like $500 for this much. I was like, you're telling me I was eating $1,000 breakfast when I was a kid, right? And it wasn't even as good. It wasn't even as good. Like, and then for a while, I got my dad to bring some to me, right? Like he brought me an entire bucket, right? And I just had an entire bucket of caviar in just one day, right? And now it's even expensive in Iran. So like my caviar eating days are all completely over. But now I miss it. I think I don't know if I ever have that experience ever again. It's just going to be this memory that I had of caviar eating. Like, yeah. But yeah, so that's never going to happen again. But that was our, yeah. My mom used to tell us that we should be so grateful that we could get to eat caviar like this, because if you were outside of Iran, this would be, such a delicacy. And now it's a delicacy in Iran as well. So, yeah.
Well, I mean, everything's expensive in Iran right now, so.
Yeah.
No bueno. I actually think that would be a good question to end on, because I'm getting hungry. We've been going for a while, and I have a lot more work to do tonight.
Yeah.
So,
okay, cool.
Yes, guys, if we didn't get to your questions this week, I apologize, but consider becoming a patron where we are contractually obligated to answer your question. Yes, and you get the priority treatment and access to all of our sexy blasphemous art.
Yeah, so. Actually, and the Hindu for liberal now, I don't know what to call him anymore. He's now going back on Patreon again because he has some things that he wants to tell us. So
cool.
We'll look forward to seeing that, and then maybe addressing it in the next Q&A.
I like Hindu for liberal. That's such a good oxymoron.
Yes. All right, guys. Please make sure you like the video. Please make sure you subscribe. If you can afford it, please become a patron for as little as $1 a month. There's a way for you to limit it, the maximum patronage, right? So link in the description, support the show, and also subscribe to our newsletter, and you get our blasphemous art for free if you are subscribed to our newsletter. And you also get my book, Why There Is No God, which is a bestseller. You get that for free as well. So link to our newsletter in the description. All right, guys.
And we have the news show in 2 days. So tune in for the news show.
Yes, if you want to make sure you see when we go live, make sure you not just subscribe, but you also hit the bell notification and hit all, because that's the only way that YouTube will tell you that we're going live. Okay? All right, guys. Talk to you in 2 days. So see you guys. Bye.
Bye.